Morning, Brent Grace, and all those joining us for our morning readings in the Bible. Again, thank you guys for joining us and just spending a little bit of time each day in the Word. Today's reading is going to be found in Acts chapter 5, verses 12 to 16, and chapter 19, verses 11 to 20, and Psalms chapter 11. In Acts here, it's kind of cool. In verse 12 here, it starts off saying, "Now many signs and wonders were regularly done among the people by the hands of the apostles." And a little farther down, and it says, "And more than ever believers were being added to the Lord, both men and women, in multitudes." And in there it talks about how they were held in esteem. And you flip over to chapter 19, and it talks about, there's all sorts of healings they were doing, from physical healing to, casting out evil spirits. It kind of sounds a lot like Jesus when the mobs were following him around and trying to just touch his robe. There's language in there. People would just hope that the shadow of the apostles would come over them as they walked by. And in the end of the section in chapter 19 and verse 20, it says, "And so the word of the Lord continued to increase and prevail mightily." And that is just such a cool thing in there. And that's, in our time in the Word, that's what we're hoping, that the word of the Lord will prevail mightily and increase in us and in those around us. In Psalms 11, David starts off saying, "In the Lord I take refuge." And down in the middle, it talks about that the Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes see, his eyelids test the children of man. And that's in verse 4. And then in the end, in verse 7, it starts off in verse 7, "For the Lord is righteous." And so as we go out in our days, as we're interacting, as we're still dealing with the COVID mandates, but we're able to do a little bit more in a time where there can be a lot of tension and really speech and actions that aren't loving or caring or show the love of the Lord. May we continue to go to his word for guidance, and may we pray and hope that it prevails mightily in us, as it says there, and increase and prevail mightily in us individually and as a body, as we interact out in our community, as we encourage one another. And may we continue to take our refuge in him, knowing that his sight is infinitely far. He sees into the thoughts of man, into our hearts, and that he is righteous, and in that he is absolutely trustworthy. And so just again, really appreciate everybody being in the Word, and just pray that we would continue to go to him first for our refuge and also for counsel, and in that his word will prevail in us mightily and through us mightily, both in our body and in our community around. So thank you again so much. Have a great morning.